Prince Aerion Targaryen, also known as Aerion the Monstrous or Aerion Brightflame, as he liked to call himself, is a notorious member of House Targaryen. Aerion is one of the main characters in the new Game of Thrones prequel series, A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. Prince Aerion Targaryen is one of the most outstanding examples of the madness that can affect the members of House Targaryen. He is infamous for his cruelty, violent temper, sadistic nature, and arrogance. Rumored to dabble in black arts, he thinks he's a dragon in human form. His actions further cemented House Targaryen's reputation for madness. Aerion Brightflame earned his nickname both for his fiery temperament and the tragic, fiery end he met. Aerion's personal sigil is a dragon of 3 heads, orange, yellow, and red, breathing golden flames on black. He is the second son of Maekar Targaryen and Lady Diane Dane. He has one older brother, Daeron, 2 younger brothers, Aemon and Aegon, and 2 younger sisters, Dael and Rhae. In Game of Thrones, Olenna Tyrell tells Sansa Stark that Aerion Brightfire was handsome but a monster. Aerion is despised by his younger brother Aegon, who considers Aerion an inveterate liar. According to Raymond Fossoway, the prince is all smiles and courtesy in front of his father, but Aerion's true nature shows in front of others. Prince Daeron Targaryen also thinks of his brother as quite the monster. Aerion owns a dragon egg that is gold and silver. Aerion threw Aegon's pet cat down a well. Aerion once visited Aegon in his bedroom during the dead of night, and put a knife to Aegon's privates and joked about removing his genitals, so Aegon would become a sister he could marry. In Season 1 of the new Game of Thrones prequel series, Aerion travels to Ashford for the tourney at Ashford Meadow, where he initially mistakes Ser Duncan the Tall for a stable boy, ordering him to take his horse and scoffs at him when Dunk says he's a knight. During the tourney itself, once Aerion enters the field, he seems about to challenge his cousin Prince Valar Targaryen to a joust, but instead challenges Sir Humphrey Harding. Dunk is surprised to hear his squire, Egg, secretly Prince Aegon Targaryen, shout at Humphrey to kill Aerion. However, Aerion lowers his lance and instead of striking Humphrey's shield, impales his horse, causing it to crash and fall atop Humphrey. The horse dies and Humphrey is injured. Although Aerion's actions are called an accident, Egg is certain it was intentional, but Dunk finds it hard to believe that a knight and a Targaryen prince could be so evil. Lord Ashford awards Aerion's horse to Humphrey as payment for the death of his horse, which infuriates Aerion. On the tourney grounds that night, a puppet show portraying a knight slaying a dragon offends Aerion, as the prince feels he's a dragon. Aerion has his men-at-arms destroy the puppeteer's stall and puppets, and he deliberately breaks the fingers of one of the puppeteers, a girl named Tansel. Duncan, whom Egg has called for help when the fight starts, then attacks Aerion, punching and kicking him in the stomach and teeth. Aerion's men arrest Dunk, and Aerion orders them to break his teeth with a hammer and cut open his belly. Egg then arrives and reveals himself as Prince Aegon, ordering them to stop. They obey, but Duncan is arrested for striking a Targaryen prince. Prince Baelor Targaryen, Aerion's uncle, crown prince, and hand of the king, visits Duncan in his cell and tells him that his nephew Aerion had been telling his father, Prince Maekar, that the puppet show was treason against House Targaryen, an incitement to revolt. As Aegon's other brother, Prince Daeron, had been telling his father a false story that Aegon had been kidnapped by a robber knight, Duncan's situation is even worse. While in prison, Daeron visits him in his cell and tells him this. Aerion's quite the monster. He thinks he's a dragon in human form, you know. That's why he was so wroth at the puppet show. A pity he wasn't born a Fossoway. Then he would think himself an apple and we'd all be safer. But there you are, says Daeron to Duncan. Aerion is demanding his head, which Prince Baelor would not allow, but couldn't deny Aerion a trial. Baelor reminds Duncan that the last time a man was found guilty of striking one of royal blood, his hand was cut off. Baelor also reminds Duncan that a knight could request a trial by combat, instead of one by judgment. Duncan does exactly that. However, upon hearing Duncan's request, Aerion demands a trial of 7 instead, which Prince Baelor could not deny. Aerion knows that the hedge knight Duncan would find it difficult to find 6 other knights to fight with him, while he would have the Kingsguard and 2 Targaryen princes on his side. Aerion even bribes Sir Stephen Fossoway, one of Duncan's few friends at Ashford, to join his side of the trial by promising him lordship. In total, Aerion's side consists of his brother Prince Daeron, his father Prince Maekar, Stephen Fossoway, and 3 knights of the Kingsguard, Willem Wilde, Donald of Duskendale, and Roland Craighall. Aerion's uncle, Prince Baelor, joins Duncan's side, as do Sir Humphrey Harding, Sir Humphrey Beesbury, Sir Robin Risling, Sir Raymond Fossaway, and Sir Lionel Baratheon. During the trial, Aerion puts his lance through Duncan's side and strikes him from his saddle with a morning star. However, Duncan refuses to yield and uses his skills as a brawler from Flea Bottom to beat the prince down, hitting him in the head with his shield until the crest of his helm breaks off. When Duncan threatens his eye with a dagger, Aerion yields and withdraws his accusation. Duncan forces Aerion to repeat his submission before Lord Ashford, ending the trial and ending the threat to Dunk's champions. However, Baelor dies from injuries he got from his brother Maekar in the trial, as do the two Humphreys. After the conclusion of the tournament, Maekar sends Aerion to Lys, in the hope that a few years in free cities would change him for the better. Banished from Westeros after committing brutal acts, Aerion spends his exile in Essos, where his madness only grows. Aerion stays in Lys for a few years, where he may have fathered some bastard children while living there, and his descendants may still be living in Lys. Young Griff might be Aerion's descendant. Aerion serves with the second son's sellsword company while in exile. Aerion returns to Westeros at some point and fights in the Third Blackfire Rebellion. He performs some actions there that are known well. After Aegor Rivers is captured, Aerion in the hand of the king, Lord Brynden Rivers, urged King Aerys I Targaryen to put Aegor to death, but the king decides to send Bittersteel to the Night's Watch instead. Aerion is married to his cousin, Daenora Targaryen. Together they have one child, a son ominously named Maegor, after Maegor the Cruel, born in 232 AC. The same year as his son's birth, Aerion dies. Convinced of his divine Targaryen destiny, Aerion drinks a cup of wildfire, believing it will transform him into a dragon. Instead, he dies screaming, consumed by the very flames he thought would make him reborn. Aerion's death is so infamous that even many decades later in the Game of Thrones series, people still talk about it. Joffrey tells this: "Over there, the ashes of Aerion Targaryen, Aerion Brightflame. He thought drinking wildfire would turn him into a dragon. He was wrong," told Joffrey to Marjorie. Jorah Mormont also talks about Aerion to Jon Snow and says this: "One night in his cups, Aerion drank a jar of wildfire, after telling his friends it would transform him into a dragon. But the gods were kind, and it transformed him into a corpse." Aerion's death is well known in Westeros. A year after Aerion dies, his father, King Maekar, also dies. And in the Great Council, Aerion's son Maegor is passed over in the succession, as it's feared that the boy might have inherited his father's cruelty and madness, and Aerion's brother Aegon Egg Targaryen becomes the king. Aerion's legacy is a grim reminder of the madness that runs through Targaryen blood. However, I would also say that his father Maekar played a role in this. Maekar likely wanted him to outshine Balon's sons, so he might have first planted the seeds that led to Aerion being the way he turned out. Maekar also pressured Daeron, which contributed to Daeron's depression and alcoholism. With Aerion, it might have led to his arrogance, madness, and cruelty. Whatever the case, Aerion the Monstrous is one of the main characters in Season 1 of A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. Aerion is the main villain this season. He's obsessed with fire, he's cruel, and definitely the most dangerous Targaryen of his time due to his madness. You can listen to the full A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms audiobook for free, the story this new series is based on, when you start a free Audible trial using our link in the description.